So I got a chance to watch Ant-Man for the second time, and I want to talk about it. I'm gonna talk about it again tonight on Beverly D on Blog Talk Radio, where she's talking about where we're talking. Well, it's called the Mound Table, and we're gonna be just discussing some things. However, uh, in this video, I want to talk about Henrietta Lacks, um, and the quantum world and Ant-Man. If y'all haven't seen the movie yet, hopefully you do. Couple of things. Archetypes. Understanding archetypes. When you understand your archetype, there is no competition. When you understand your archetype, you're only just bettering yourself in the understanding of who you are, because your archetype is your original primary version. So my next video that I'm gonna do on YouTube is gonna be on the Magician, and we're going to be discussing these tarot cards in the deepest detail, so we can understand it from a Kabbalistic point of view, so we can understand it from an alchemical point of view, from a Hebrew letter point of view, and really getting this shit down pat. So when we talk about ourselves as being spiritual beings, not only can we talk about it, we can be about it. So when we're talking about the quantum world, when we're talking about subatomic energy, us as melanated beings, we know this energy to be called the spiritual world, hopefully, or the ancestral plane. It's a very interesting dichotomy between people who have melanin all across the planet versus people who are devoid of melanin. Devoid of melanin so much so, and I'm not speaking on nobody specifically, I'm talking about an autonomic type of human being who is the ruler of this world. However, they have no perception of the spiritual world or the ancestral plane. This is why they have to create statues in memory of people, because if they didn't create these statues, then the memory of the people would be wiped away. But the difference between us and them is that the memory, or the cosmic memory within ourselves, is found at the subatomic level. Now, it's a very interesting play that's happening right now with the quantum world and ants. It's another show on HBO that's based on ants called The Last of Us. Now, it's not specifically based on ants, but the disease that the people are dealing with is a disease that only ants can have. And the disease that the ants can have is being possessed by cordyceps, or some form of mycology that possesses the ants and have them acting in such a type of way. Now, the person who seen this on National Geographic said it'll be cool if I create a video game, and the people who played the video game said it'll be cool if this is a series. Now, The Last of Us is out, but back to the ants. The ants are the only people, or the only entity that could be possessed. But when we are studying animal life, right, when we are spiritual beings, and you talk about Egyptians and their understanding of Haru is not a man, their understanding of Haru is a falcon. So as spiritual beings, we can understand our energy by the animals. Not to say that we are the animal, but we can say we can identify it. So it's two things. It's a good ant, and then it's a possessed ant. This is what these people are telling us, right? In the media, the possessed ant is disconnected from source. The ant that is tapped in, and this is how they flip it, the ant that is not doing the mushrooms is a good ant. The ant that is doing the mushrooms is possessed. But on Earth, human beings is completely flipped. But that's another conversation. But at a certain level, when you're watching a movie, at first it's Scott Lang, but let's get into Henrietta Lacks and Ant-Man. First of all, let's establish a basis. So the first Ant-Man, his name is Dr. Henry Pym, or Hank Pym. He is characterized by Michael Douglas in Ant-Man and Quantumania. He plays Michael Douglas, the husband to the wife of Michelle Pfeiffer, who in the movie is Henrietta Lacks. Michelle Pfeiffer is Henrietta Lacks. Ant-Man, her husband, Henry, that name starts off with H-E. Now, you would say, Kyrie, you can't take the first two letters off of a name, right, and create something. But that's what they did when they named the cells of Henrietta Lacks. When they named the cells from Henrietta Lacks, they took the first two letters off of her name. We need to be clear on this. They took the last two letters off of her last name to create Hela, H-E-L-A. Now, Dr. Henry starts with H-E, okay? Now, the new Ant-Man is Scott Lang. Now, the last name of Lang is what? L-A. So you have Henry and Scott, Henry Lang, right? So H-E-L-A, Henrietta Lacks. Henry Pym, Henrietta. One's in the chat if y'all can understand the basis for you to understand Ant-Man, not as Ant-Man, but as Henrietta Lacks. We need to be clear on this. We need to be clear on this because you'll be watching Ant-Man thinking that you're watching Ant-Man, but you're not watching Ant-Man. You're watching Henry, Dr. Henry, and Scott Lang. And is it ironic that Henry and Scott were in the movie together? Let's be clear on this. All right, so even deeper, Ant-Man and Thor is like a cross-blended mythology where Ant-Man represents the microcosm of spirituality, Thor represents the macrocosm. Ant-Man, regular dude, Thor, Chris Hemsworth, fucking wrestler, built stock, god of thunder type energy, but they are just twin energies, one being the more mundane, one being the more spiritual. And if you watch Quantumania, they reference Thor and Thor-like energies and entities a lot. Even deeper, there is a character in Thor Ragnarok. All my Marvel characters, I don't want to spoil it for y'all. What is the character of the villain in Thor Ragnarok? Google it if you don't know it. Come back, put it in the chat. What is the villain of the character in Thor Ragnarok? Kang is the villain in Quantumania. Hela is the villain in Thor Ragnarok. H-E-L-A. H-E-L-A. Okay? So you got to say that's a mighty weird coincidence. Wouldn't you say that there would be a character with the same name as the cells of Henrietta, of the cells of Henrietta Lacks? Give me a second or two. I thought I had a charger, but I don't, so I'm gonna cut my brightness down a little bit. Let me try to get through this before my phone dies. Because I thought I had a charger, but I guess I don't. So anyways, character in Marvel, villain named Hela. So when they get sucked into the quantum realm, only time I noticed it was the second time I saw the movie. First time I didn't peek, but the second time it was clear as day. In the quantum realm, everything was alive. So when you're in the quantum realm, you're simply in a cellular body, i.e. the ancestral realm, right? And when they're in the quantum realm, Michael Douglas voices to Michelle Pfeiffer's character. We've been studying this for all of these years, right? 2023. We've been studying this for all of these years. Why haven't I figured it out yet? Why haven't we seen it? Why don't we know nothing about this, right? And Michelle Pfeiffer responds to him, you haven't looked deep enough. So I'm really doing this message for Black people who don't look deep enough, who don't understand and understand the ancestral realms so much so that they become empowered, because life is created in the quantum realm. Oh yeah, I'm just going over my notes, but it's some things in that movie. It's a one part where they walk into a building and the building is about to shoot them, and he goes, y'all buildings are alive. And then the person in the quantum realm looks at the human and says, your buildings ain't alive. So once again, it's crisscross, mix mash. You are ignorant if you think your house is not alive. Everything is alive. Everything is energy. So in your home, if you don't treat your home like it's alive, like clean it, bathe it, wash the walls, take care of your environment, that's a reflection of you and your disconnection. I've thought about some cold shit earlier because I'm working on the Magician tarot card, and it was like, damn, this just makes so much sense. It's a difference between talking and talking, between connecting from spirit and talking. And what you'll notice is that people not even gonna feel like talking no more. Cause it was a time where niggas could get on this app and just talk, right? Just say anything, copy Bobby Hemmett, copy this nigga, that nigga, buy a book, repeat the shit you reading out of a book. Everybody think you lit cause you just talking. Now, if you look at these people, the spiritual souls of the world and the viral sensations of, you know, people that's just talking, acting like they spiritual. When the spiritual shit get real, these niggas break and fold and crumble into nothing, because the reality of this spiritual shit, it is not to be played with. You can't play with this shit. And as much as you see it online, and you see a lot of shit online, right? You see a lot of crazy shit online. So don't use that as a barometer of things to do. So back to the quantum realm. The quantum realm has intelligent beings that are alive. The quantum realm exists within this realm. The quantum realm is alive. Just like your cells and your body is alive, the quantum realm exists in that same exact fashion. So it means two things. In the movie, Ant-Man got real big, right? But then Ant-Man can get real small. What are they talking about, right? We could be human beings on this planet, bear witnessing to cosmic and celestial beings, i.e. stars and planetary configurations and alignments that then have a direct correlation and energy stream on this planet in your life. People will be like, man, I'm 28 and I'm going through some shit. Are you having a Saturn return? I'm having a Saturn return. I just thought I was, a crazy person. No, it's a celestial correspondence in reference to the time for which you exist on this earth, that now it's time for you to level up spiritually. Ain't nothing wrong with you, right? Because we can understand the micro, we can understand that we are the micro. But another thing that I want to convey to spiritual beings, to elevate your spiritual practice in this time and age, you are also a giant in reference to the mineral life. One's in the chat, if you can comprehend your enormousness in reference to the mineral world, right? If you got to be able to comprehend this and see this within your mind's eye. And you can see it when you're watching the movie. When they elevate and they go to fight and defeat Kang, they're in their monstrous, enormous form. But that's you too when we're giving offerings to the earth. It's people right now, right, having struggles in love and relationships, but have not given no offerings to Oshun. Right? Because you don't feel like it's real, you're not connected to it. And you feel like maybe you're not big enough. Baby, you huge. You are enormous. And to think of offering water and honey to a river body, you will be blessed, because the smaller entities within the quantum realm can understand you. If you watch the movie, you would see that the people within the quantum realm, although they speak different dialects, they could understand the humans, but the humans couldn't understand them until they drunk the ooze. What is the ooze? The ooze is one specific color. It is red. It is menstrual blood. Menstrual blood opens you up to the quantum realm. This is why 99% of the women in the world hate their periods, and they put it in a tampon and they put it in a little rinky-dink box on the side of the toilet, and it's just a whole fucking trash bin of red tampons in there because you can't flush them down the toilet. But if you knew that that period blood was your gateway to your ancestors and your gateway to your witchcraft, you would be doing work with it. And be like, well, what should... Motherfuckers love asking this. This is the number one question. What should I do with it? You fucking drink it. Ugh, that's nasty. Well, then stay disconnected from the quantum realm. What's nasty is putting your goddamn tampon and sitting next to a goddamn small trash can filled with other girls' blood and breathing in that toxic fumes of period blood in your nose. That's nasty. Drinking your period blood is magical. You got to grow up. This is why I get banned on this goddamn platform, though. Yeah, so what else? Yeah, so once again, when you start working with the quantum world, when you start doing your offerings, right? When you start doing your divination. So divinations is divining with the stars, right? But as above, so below. As spiritual beings, you do your divination. You understand who you are cosmically, but you also understand where you are minerally, where you are in the soil of it all, right? So this is where you get into the practice of offerings, right? This is where you get into the practice of the variations of offerings. So food, feeding animals, working with rivers, nature work, path working through nature. Because when you do that, you're not alone. You're feeding the living beings that exist in the quantum world that live identical to you. When you do an offering to Oshun, Oshun sees you. She also sees your inconsistency. One in the chat, One in the chat, you did a beauty ritual for 2 days. Now, there's no way Oshun gonna say, oh, she's been consistent in her beauty rituals, we gonna keep men from her. That don't make no sense. You can't do Shango work and really get into your healing, get into your nature work, get into your loner work, and not get blessed with wisdom. You can't do your drumming work with Dr. John or Ishu and do your ritual and your path working and not get gnosis behind it. The problem is you're not doing it. You think Dr. John don't exist. You think Marie Laveau is somewhere not existing. And black people, we need to stop. We need to fully understand that every ancestor that ever lived is still alive. So the sadness that you feel, the loss that you feel is a disconnection from the quantum world. Irregardless if you have money or anything that you can have physically. We're talking about spiritual development, connecting to the spiritual realm, understanding it and seeing it. I had a whole download on Henrietta Lacks. Mans called me from a podcast and started talking about Henrietta Lacks. I was thinking it. I even journal it. So a nigga couldn't even break in my car. He would have had to invade my mind to reference Henrietta Lacks to me. And I said, oh, it's on. It's on. It's on. Henrietta Lacks is a woman that is still alive. One's in the chat. You lost your mother, she's still alive. You lost your father, she's still alive. You lost your grandmother, she's still alive. One's in the chat. Your grandfather, still alive. Your great-grandfather, still alive. Your great-grandmother, still alive. Your sister, still alive. Your brother, still alive. Your cousin, still alive. Your friend, still alive. The famous person that you love his music, still alive. This is a fact. It is our ignorance that is the illusion. And we need to have conversations like this because time is a cage. Time is a cage. Time, okay, so when you go to prison, and I'm gonna end on this. When you go to prison, they tell you you're doing what? You're doing time, right? You're doing time. Why? Because when you're in prison, outside of being on earth, which it is relative, right? But when you're on earth, you're not really fixated on time as much because you don't have to do count time, where at a particular time where they have to count every prisoner and they have to do this multiple times a day. So there's no like time for which you could get outside of count time. You could be on a visit, and if it's count time, you got to stand and be counted. So with that being said, your idea of time in prison is different from my idea of time outside of prison. I don't care if it's count time. If I'm outside of prison, it has no effect on me. So once again, the smallest little thing that you teach your kid, today is what? Monday or Tuesday, is sort of like a prison, right? It's sort of like a time construct. So then you start to think, well, how many Mondays do I have? Or is this my last day? And everything related to our life is related to time. Like I'm getting old, and we know old bitches when we was 20, right? They was 20 and old and worn out, right? Done for drinking E&J at 5 o'clock in the morning, right? But then we know young people that are old. So once again, we understand that time is a state of a mind. But we can also bear witness to the construct that we have been taught as time. So once we get into our spiritual beingness, which is not related to time, our spiritual beingness is not related to time. So the human who created time to monitor and to track and to generally make sure your ass get to work on time or in time, Justin Timberlake. These are paradigms and constructs that cage our mind and cage our paradigm, because the reality of, say, Oshun is beauty and youth and purity. And these are spiritual principles that, if lived upon, if you are a divine feminine being and you said, I'm going to make sure the rest of my life, whatever happens, I'm going to work on my beauty, my purity, and my connectedness, you wouldn't have nothing to worry about. If you was a divine masculine and you said, I'm going to just completely work on my ability to be strong and prepared and disciplined, you wouldn't have nothing to worry about. It's only when we mix match our energies. And another thing that Marvel is so clear about, especially when it comes to defeating Kang, right? And Loki, they killed Kang. And Ant-Man, they killed Kang. Did y'all see that? All right. So in Loki, the series, they killed Jonathan Majors. Well, the same villain came back in Ant-Man and they killed him again. But in this time, there was no Avengers that killed Kang. It was a man and a woman. It was a masculine and a feminine energy. The female Loki and the masculine Loki killed Kang and Loki, and Ant-Man and the Wasp killed Kang and Ant-Man and Wasp in Quantumania. Very clear messaging here. To win at life, you and your girl, y'all must be fighting together. See, the reality of it is that your wife might be dependent on you. Your husband might be dependent on you. The reality of it, you might not have no wife at all. You might have hoes. Well, there is no character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I know that's kind of like a stretch, but the reality is, in hero making and understanding your Haru, understanding your higher self, it ain't about having a bunch of bitches more than it is about uniting with your masculine and feminine side in real time and defeating the archetypes for which are manipulating you. But we can talk about Kang at a later time, because that's a whole nother rabbit hole. That's a whole nother stereotype that they putting on Jonathan Majors and Michael B. Jordan, right? Michael B. Jordan in The Wire gets killed. Michael B. Jordan in Black Panther gets killed. Jonathan Majors in Lovecraft Country gets killed at the end of it. He does all of that shit just to get killed by the white lady. And then at the end of this, at the end of Loki, he gets bodied. At the end of this, he gets bodied. And I'm sure he's going to come back at Secret Words, or whenever he come back, he's going to get bodied again. So these characters that they put in before us, Tyree Nichols, you got the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe trying to kill the black man over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. They want that loop. So the reason why I'm doing this video is to reverse some spells, because if you don't see the spells being put down, that lets the spell live, right? If a girl doing the spell on you and you know she doing the spell on you, or you feel like a person doing the spell on you, you got to ask them directly, are you doing the spell on me? Because if you ask them directly, they either going to say yes or no. But whatever the case may be, the spell is over once you recognize it. If you don't, the nature of a spell is that you're under a spell, but you don't know you under a spell. Black men are under a spell. Regardless of whatever you thinking or what's happening in the world, if black men don't recognize the spell that they are under, you can guarantee they are 100% under it. So I love my black men, you know, and I know they're gonna do what they're gonna do to catch a check, but they're gonna always write these dudes in roles for which they get exterminated. So with that being said, find you a tribe moving into 2023. Don't deal with nobody that if the world was going to end today, you wouldn't have an escape plan or escape route. You got to start thinking like preppers. You got to start thinking like, what would happen if I ain't have no electricity? Because in this world, if you don't start thinking like that, I mean, you got to start thinking about what's important. And I'm not going to say what's happening in the world, because the last time I told y'all what's happening in the world, they struck my channel down and they blocked me. I sat in front of the pizza shop and for 30 minutes, I told y'all everything that have been happening from 2018 up until now. And whoever heard that video did not like it. They removed it and they struck my channel down. So that just showed me that what I was saying was correct. And so with that being said, get you a tribe. Stop being the lone wolf. Stop being the motherfucker who don't care about nothing or nobody because life done did you wrong, right? It's The Last of Us. It's Mad Max. It's the end of the world, baby. And they say 9 out of 10 of us can survive. 9 out of 10 people can survive when the grid collapses. I heard that as 1 out of 10 of us are gonna make it. So I'm trying to be that 1 out of 10. I'm trying to make sure that y'all are that 1 out of 10. I'm hoping that y'all families are that 1 out of 10. Because we are not a country. We are a bunch of people who need each other. And if you don't see it like that, I don't know what to tell you. But let me end this video before this video ends. I love y'all. Peace to y'all families. Unite. Link up. If you love somebody, link up with them. Make sure that they're good. Make sure that their lights is on. Make sure that they are okay. Cause you can't just be like, I love you. And then a motherfucker that you said you love sitting back in this bitch starving, you know? Don't got shit to eat. But motherfuckers swear they love you. So reach out to somebody that you love, man. Peace.